It's the Wargaming Invention show, and today we're making a hot wire foam cutter. That's coming right up. Welcome back, great to have you here. If this is your first time here, here's what's up. If you want to improve your wargaming, make your tabletop battles more epic, and give your wargaming budget more power, then just smash the subscribe button and ding the bell. That way, you won't miss anything. So this video is going to be a little bit different to usual because I'm effectively prototyping it as I am making this video. So make sure that you watch the entire thing before trying to make it, because otherwise it could end badly. And a warning, hot wires are hot. Don't touch hot stuff, it will burn and it will hurt. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so here is all the stuff that I think we're going to need because I haven't built it yet. First of all, obviously, you need some batteries to power the thing. You're also going to need something to use as the wire for the hot wire cutting bit. This is NiChrome wire. I have no idea what gauge it is, but it's about that thick. If you can see that, probably not. It's about that thick. It's a little bit thinner than the wires coming off this battery holder, which is a nice segue into also some battery holders to hold your batteries. A good idea. Little switch to turn it on and off with. This one has an LED in it which will light up to tell us when it's on. You also might want some tape. This is a bit of electrical tape you might want. And you're going to want some crimp connectors and a crimping tool because this thing is going to get hot. We don't want to solder because then connections will come apart. And when everything goes wrong, you're also going to want a multimeter to find out what's gone wrong. Also, we need some kind of casing to put this in so it's held nice and rigid. I've got some PVC pipe and a couple of 90-degree bends. Saw to cut that with. Some clippers for clipping stuff, and also am going to paint it heritage green. And it's in a spray can because I can, and that makes life easier. So let's get started. Okay, so to get started, we're going to need to get a bit of our NiChrome wire off the spool, and I've already cut a bit off. You literally unspool it and then clip it. Be careful because it is going to have a bit of springiness in it and it will try to unravel on you. So the first thing we need to do is work out roughly how long our wire needs to be, because the resistance of the wire is determined by a couple of things, and one of those things is the length of it. The longer it is, the higher the resistance, and it's going to change the temperature it goes to. So if we don't get the length right, it either won't cut or it's just going to burn the foam. So I'm going to get some tape and I'm going to tape these two batteries together like so that they're together like that. We're going to get a little bit of foam that we can test it on. We're going to get our wire, and all we have to do is just hold one end there, the other end up there like so, and wait and hold it against the foam and wait for it to get hot. And as you can see, the wire is starting to heat up and slice through the foam. There we go, that's getting hotter. Why is this taking so long? It's not supposed to take this long. Maybe my wire's too long. Let's try it with a shorter piece of wire. And this is why you test stuff. So we'll hold it there again. Oh yeah, that's cutting much better. That cuts brilliantly. See, the electricity flows through the wire and it gets— ow! And the wire gets hot and burns your finger like an idiot. I guess we should probably use the battery holders and connect everything up before using it. That'd probably be a good idea. Alright, well let's do that. We know that this wire is about the right length to be able to cut through it. It's possibly even a little bit too long still, because it seemed that the longer wire didn't get hot as quickly. So we're just going to trim it down a little bit more. And then, because I haven't learnt my lesson, we're going to do the exact same thing again and probably burn our fingers again. Oh yeah, that cuts really nicely. And it burnt my fingers again. That is really hot. Ow. Ow, why do I keep touching it? Stop touching the hot wire. But as you can see, it put a nice little cut into the foam. So about that length is pretty good. To give you a comparison, it's a little bit longer than 2 AA batteries. Seems to be a good length for our wire. So now we've got that worked out. That's going to be about the length our wire needs to be. We need to cut our piece of PVC pipe to a length that will hold that nice and taut. So we get our PVC and we take our piece of wire and we measure it out as best we can, which brings it to about there. So because some of it is going to go into these, we want it a little bit longer. So yeah, about between the 4 and the 0 on there. Nice that they put markings on it, isn't it? And we just use our saw to cut off the piece of PVC pipe. And we try very hard not to cut ourselves. Then you want to just take off all of the crap on the end. You can use your knife or you can not. You probably don't even need to really clean up the end, as no one's ever going to see it. But if you want, you can. So that's going to be the length of that bit. Should probably have made sure that these battery holders fit in here, and they don't fit. So now you need to trim your battery holder down so that it fits in the tube. Or alternatively, as that's a dumb idea, we could just fit our battery holders to the outside of the tube, and that would probably actually have a pretty cool look to it. So let's do that. So once you've got this bit of pipe cut out, you're going to need a couple more bits because we want to extend it out a little bit after we have these bits on. We want to be able to bring it out about that far so we have some space for the foam to go between. So we're just going to take a short section of pipe off, about that sort of length will do fine. Then you're going to want 2 of these because there are 2 ends. So you cut off the other end, trying to get it about the same sort of length. Then we have 2 little bits which will jut out of here. And these bits you probably do want to clean up as they will be visible. And that is going to form the body of our foam cutter. Like that. Now we need to join our battery holders together. So you take one of the red wires, and you take one of the black wires, and you take a crimp connector, you put it in your crimping tool, insert the wire in like so that the wire goes in there, and then you crush it so that it holds in there nice and tight. And then you take the black wire, because you want them to be in series, so black goes to red, and you do the exact same thing with the black wire. There we go, nice and joined. And now we need to put our switch in. Now, in order to get this LED to light up, we need to connect it so the LED... Okay, so we want the LED to be hooked up parallel with our heating wire. I think we are actually going to solder this, now that I think about it. Okay, so to connect the switch, we are going to solder the positive wire to one side of it, and to do that we're going to get some flux. If you are using solder that has a flux core, you don't need to put flux onto it, but I'm not using flux core solder, so we do it this way. And when you can rub your solder on your soldering iron and the solder melts, you know your soldering iron is nice and hot. So you just get some solder on your iron, and you need to then apply solder so that it is on both of the bits you want to connect together, like so. And we do the same with our switch. And because we applied the flux to it, it will just pull it straight on. So now to join them, it's super easy. You just spill excess solder onto your pipe and you bring it in like so, and you heat the two up. and you knock it over. You just heat the two bits up, solder melts, and it joins together like so. And now that I think about it, it was really stupid doing it before we got the switch in there. We'll probably have to cut this and put a crimp connector in it anyway, because the switch is going to be in there and we want to be able to pull all of this apart for whatever reason. We're also going to need a bit of just standard insulated copper wire like this, which is going to run between our switch and our cutting wire. So I've decided I'm going to put my switch in the corner here. So I want this piece of wire to be about that long. Then get your solder, make sure there's plenty of solder on your iron, and now it's turned from a copper color to a nice silvery color. And we repeat the exact same process we did before with the battery side, but now we do it with this piece of wire. And now we have that side nicely soldered. Of course, we now need to also hook up the prongs for the LED. So we want this LED to be in parallel with our heating wire. So we're just going to run a small piece of wire from the positive terminal here, straight across to the positive terminal of the LED. There is a little plus sign there telling us it's positive. So we're going to get a tiny bit of flux on there as well. And we're going to apply some solder to that prong. Then we're going to get a very, very short section of wire. So now this is the really fiddly bit, because we need to solder this into there without breaking that connection and without burning ourselves if possible. Like so. So now that's in there, we can bend it over and we can solder it to this prong on the LED. And it pulled away a bit, but the surface tension of the solder made the connection. So that's now connected. So power now can run from the batteries through the switch, which will control it, and it also will run into the LED, which the other prong will go... Whoops, I've made a boo-boo. So, the boo-boo that I've made is that this actually needs to go to the output of the switch, not the input, because we want the power to come into the switch, go through the switch, and then, yeah. The way I have it hooked up at the moment, if I run that back to negative, I've got the switch in parallel with... I've got the LED in parallel with the switch, which is not what we want. So to fix that, we undo the solder on this bit of wire. But what we want is the power to come in here, go through the switch, and then through the LED. And now, when we run the other prong of the LED to negative, it will light up when the switch is turned on, and I can demonstrate that by getting our batteries and putting them into the battery holders, and hopefully nothing explodes. So now when I connect it to the negative of the switch and press the switch, the LED turns on when it's on and off when it's off. Perfect, that's what we want it to do. And now we just need to run the NiChrome wire between there and it will get hot. Before we do that, we need to get it into here because we need our piece of wire to be nice and tight so that it's straight, so we get good clean cuts. So to do that, I've decided I want to mount it up here. So now we need a hole in our PVC bend for our switch to go through. Now, I'm not going to do this the way that you should do it. You should use a drill to do this. So, smart kids, don't do this at home. Dumb kids, stop watching now. I'm going to punch a hole in it with a soldering iron, which is not the way you're meant to use a soldering iron, so don't do it this way. Use a drill. And you end up with a nasty looking hole like that, which you can put your switch through. And once you have it so your switch goes in, you could use a little ring to attach it because it's at a weird angle the way I've mounted it. I'm going to get some acrylic gap filler and fill it in, and then I'll mask off the switch before painting. Now we need to join this back to there. So we're going to strip some wire off there. And actually, since this pipe's not going to have one, we don't want another hole in that pipe. And these batteries, I've decided now are going to be mounted on the outside. So the red wire is going to come out through the hole as well, like so that we have our red wire coming out. And that is the final position I want my switch in. So now we can do that. And you could solder these and then put some shrink wrap on, but I have crimp connectors, so I'm going to use them. So it turns out I didn't actually need to cut that wire, so that was stupid. This is what happens when you design stuff as you're going along. Get it all worked out before you start, and life is easier. Because we still need to connect some wire to that, which will run back to the negative. And bam! Now we have more wires. So the wire coming out of the LED and the one going into the switch all need to flex around and come back. The wire going to the cutting bit can go to the cutting bit. And now we try and press it in there and find out that's not going to work, so we're going to just cut a small channel. Fortunately, this hole will all be neatened up. Now that it's in there, you just want to check to make sure that it still works. So you do that, you turn it on, then you close the circuit, LED lights up, so that's still connected properly. And I have no idea if that end's connecting correctly. So we're going to grab our NiChrome wire, we're going to wrap that wire around it. You just need to make sure that it still connects through. We're going to turn our switch on. We're going to connect those two bits there, going to get some foam, see if it heats up. And it's heating up and slicing the foam by the looks of it. At least I felt it heat up and burn my... Ow! Yep, it's working. It works. Success. Don't touch hot stuff. So now we can insert that in there. We can clean up the edge of these pipes. You just run the blade back along them to clean up the edges, like so. Slot that in there. Put that one in there. Twist, give it a nice twist to get it in nice and securely. Now we've got that wire going through there. And do the same at the bottom. Except I want the wire to go into there, don't I? So clean that up, get that cleaned up, slot it in there, give it a twist so it goes in nice and tight. Now, we need a way to be able to actually put tension on the wire between there. So how are we going to do this? Well, first of all, we need a piece of wire going in there and coming out of there so that that works. So I'm just going to grab this piece of wire, thread it through there, have about that much sticking out of the end, should do. I'm just going to force this in there, and the wire just gets crushed in place, so it will hold nice and tightly. And you want to make sure that these two bits of pipe coming out here are running parallel. So now that we've got that, these two wires will connect together and then connect to the negative, so we'll use one crimp connector to do all of that. So, how to attach the wire? I know. We're going to get our wire, and we're going to run out a bit that is about 50% longer than what we need. Then we're going to get one end of it, and we're going to wrap it around here, and we're going to twist it off. We can grab our cutters, and we can twist it down nice and tight. So now that's on there nice and tight. Then we can bring this around here, bring it in nice and tight. Use the tool to bring it in nice and tight. Probably bring it in under, that'll make it easier to... And then roll that over. Probably use pliers, not cutters for this. Actually, that's a really good idea. Get some pliers, and then you can twist it around and make it nice and tight. So you can use your pliers to break the wire, because we already used side cutters and weakened the wire. So let's try that again. You just twist it in so that it's nice and taut. And it sounds fantastic. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this wire in, and this way you can change the wires if you should need to, and you just wrap this bit of wire around it. Because our NiChrome wire is not enameled, that will complete the circuit at that end. And then we can do the same at this end. We use this thing, twist it, bring it around, and wrap it in there. Then we just need to complete the circuit at this end. So we're going to grab another crimp connector, And we are going to twist these two wires together. We're then going to get our crimp connector and insert these wires into it as best we can. It's already tight, which is a good thing. We then crush it using our crimping tool. The tool on it, put the wire in, crush it down. There we go. Now we can press the button, wire gets hot, grab some foam, and we can cut through the foam nice and easily. And it gives you a nice, clean cut. And with a bit of practice, you can get really nice cuts with it. Even that is fairly reasonable. And if it starts coming loose, you can always put glue into those bits. And you just flick the switch to turn it off, and the wire will cool down reasonably quickly. And you can swap out the wire as easy as you want. If you find you need to make the wire shorter, you can always move these wires in, and that'll shorten the effective length of the wire. And if your wire gums up with stuff, you can always apply more very, very, very easily. So now we just need to make it look nicer. So we're going to get our good old friend acrylic gap filler, and we're just going to find out that the tube is all blocked up. No, it's not. And we're just going to put it in here like so, and just smear it in there. Trying not to get any on the face of the switch, because I don't want it on there, because that's going to look ugly and it will gum up the switch horribly. But we want to try to avoid doing that if we can. We just want to get enough on there so that it covers up that horrid hole. If you cut a nicer looking hole, you might not need to do this. Or you can put the switch literally anywhere you like. Putting it on an angle like that probably wasn't the best spot to put it. There we go. And now all you need to do is color up any way you like and attach your batteries to it, cleaning up the wiring. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it here. I'm going to work out where I'm going to mount these batteries, and I'll just mount them using glue or something, and I'll mount them somewhere. Then we'll just wrap this thing up. So I've gone ahead and painted it, and I made a few minor changes. I decided to actually do the maths, and with just 2 AA batteries, it puts out an entire 3.91 watts, which is absolutely pathetic, which is why it wasn't cutting quite as well as I would have liked it to. So I went back to the electronics store and got a holder for 4 AA batteries. And by my maths, it's now putting out 15.65 watts. So now it's got quite a bit more power. Turn it on, get just a random bit of foam, and as you can see, it cuts through with relative ease and leaves a nice smooth surface. You can even cut out some rather intricate shapes with it, like so. And it cuts it really, really nicely. So I'm calling that a win. And it only cost about $8 to build in bits and pieces. You can get heaps of NiChrome wire off eBay really cheap, and the rest of the stuff I just got locally. Most of it from the electronics store, a bit from the hardware store, and that is really hot. Don't touch the cutting wire of your hot wire foam cutter. That is just dumb. And I'm likely to just sit here for the next couple of hours just cutting bits of foam out into weird shapes, because this is so much fun. I also crappily attached the battery holder to the bottom of it using some of the bits of NiChrome wire from the failed attempts at the cutting wire. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go find my zip ties. Use zip ties to attach the batteries to it. That's the best way to do it. So there you go. That's how you make yourself a cheap hot wire foam cutter that you don't have to wait for 3 weeks for it to arrive from China. And it works brilliantly, and it's going to make producing terrain that much easier because you can get clean, consistent cuts and you can do all sorts of weird shapes. You can get nice rounded cuts that you can't achieve using a knife. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so that we know that you like it, so we can keep making stuff that you like. And if you have a suggestion for literally anything wargaming related, chuck it in the comments section and we will get to it. And as always, if you want to improve your wargaming, make your tabletop battles more epic, and give your wargaming budget more power, then just smash the crosshair and ding the bell. You'll subscribe and I'll be able to share with you more battle reports, terrain tutorials, and strategies to make your wargaming experience more epic. And I'll see you next time.